Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Elliott Parker. I wanted to take a moment to say hello and to introduce myself and to welcome you to Writing 440, Writing for Accountancy, and to welcome you to our online class. I'm really excited to have you in class this semester. Really looking forward to working with you as we talk about ways that as accountants and as people working and moving into the accounting profession, we can write and communicate better and to the best of our ability. And so before I get into some of those issues and sort of talk a little bit about the class and what the expectations are for the class this semester and kind of what we're going to be doing as we go throughout the semester, I did want to take a moment to mention to you that if you don't have a lot of experience taking an online class, or you're wondering how is a writing class going to work in an online environment where we're meeting and we're using Blackboard but we're not meeting regularly, how does all of this work? Well, I can tell you that it's going to be something that will be just fine. It may take a week or two for you to kind of get the hang of it and to get used to it, particularly if you're not familiar with online classes or you don't have a lot of experience using Blackboard. But I've done my very best to make the class as user-friendly as possible and to make it so that once you're inside Blackboard, you can find the content and everything that you need each week as easily as possible. So we'll talk more about that and get more into that in the week, really the couple weeks ahead. But I just wanted to mention that to you, and I also wanted to let you know that if for whatever reason you need help or you're struggling or you have problems with technology, please feel free to reach out to me. Because I don't see you guys regularly, because we don't meet face-to-face on regular set times, if I don't hear from you, I just assume everything is going okay and that there's not any trouble and that you're not having any problems. So if you have any questions about anything, if you need help with any of the assignments or any of the content related to the class, or you've got some issues with technology, please let me know so that we can work those problems out. The earlier you let me know about those problems, the better off we will both be in terms of trying to find a solution to those problems. I am not a technology expert when it comes to that sort of thing, if you need help with technology, but if we can't figure it out together, I certainly know the people to go to help us figure out that information. So please feel free to reach out to me, and please feel free to let me know if you have any questions or concerns at any time as we move forward with the class, because I know that it can be sometimes odd to think, well, if we're not meeting regularly and I do have a question, is it okay for me to reach out to my professor? Yes, absolutely. Please feel free to do so. I'm happy to meet on Zoom, happy to have telephone chats, happy to talk through email at any time. So please feel free to reach out to me if you need that help or you need that extra support. So some of you might be thinking, my goodness, why am I in a writing class? I'm an accounting major. I've gone through all of these years of coursework, and I've had writing 101 or maybe writing 250 or maybe a couple of writing classes back when I was a freshman or a sophomore. Why do I need writing 440? How is this class going to help me? Well, I think by the time we get certainly to the end of the semester, we will be talking about a few things and covering a few issues and topics that will help you be much more successful. But I want you to think about this class in terms of sort of filling up your toolkit and coming up with ways that you can be a stronger writer and be a better writer and be the kind of writer that when you go to work for an accounting firm, no matter if it's a small firm, a medium-sized firm, or a large firm, you're going to be the kind of employee that they're going to want to have around, because not only are you going to have the accounting skills necessary to be successful, but you're going to have those writing skills also that are going to help you be successful. They're going to help you accomplish what you need to accomplish from that end. And they're going to make you the kind of marketable employee that that company is going to want to keep, that company is going to want to have around for a long time, and also that that company is going to want to promote up through the ranks should you decide to pursue that avenue. So I wanted to take a moment through this brief video lecture today to just talk for a few minutes about the class in a little bit more detail, and to just kind of go over some basic information about the class and some expectations for the class so that you'll have a better sense of what we're doing going forward. So I'm going to share my screen here just for a second and go over some basic information with you in this introductory video, just so you get a general sense of kind of the roadmap ahead and what we're going to be doing and how we're going to get there. So this is Writing 440, Writing for Accountancy. Everything we talk about, everything that we read, everything that we really focus on is going to be focused on issues concerning accounting and accountants and the accounting profession. So, we're not going to be writing literary analysis essays, and we're not going to be writing traditional research papers, and we're not going to be doing narrative essays and those kinds of things that maybe you've had experience with in another writing class or another English class. Everything that we talk about this semester is going to be tailor-made to accounting and the accounting profession. But before we get into that, I wanted to just give you a little bit of background on myself and kind of how I got here and how all of this has come together for me. I spent a number of years as a working journalist. I worked for a company called Tri-Cities Broadcasting and Media out of Bristol, Virginia. There I did some on-air work, but I also did a lot of writing for the company. I wrote ad copy that you hear when you hear radio commercials being read. I wrote the ad copy for that. I wrote sales proposals, helped with contracts, helped with a lot of different features and functions related to kind of the behind the scenes writing. I worked very closely with our accounting staff because I had to know how much money we had to enter into third-party negotiations with the contracts. I had to know specifically how much that our salespeople could charge for advertising and where that advertising money was going to go when a business decided to advertise on one of our stations or one of our networks. So I worked very closely with the accounting folks, and I got a good chance over those years to know them and kind of what they did and kind of what they experienced and what they went through. So after I did that for a number of years, I decided to kind of change careers, and I had an opportunity back in 2004 to teach as an adjunct faculty member to teach a class, and I fell in love with higher education. I loved working with students, and I really felt like that was my calling going forward. Appreciated my time as a journalist, but realized that maybe there was something else out there for me and something more skilled or more suited to my skill set in terms of a career. So I've been really working in higher education ever since then. I'm from West Virginia originally. I got my bachelor's degree from Marshall University, my MFA in creative writing at Eastern Kentucky University, and my doctorate in English at Murray State. I taught at Marshall University. I have taught at Mount West Community and Technical College. I was at Marshall for 3 years, Mount West Community Technical College for 10 years, and I've been here at Ole Miss since 2018. So it's been a great experience and a great ride, and I've enjoyed everything that I've done at every one of my stops. My favorite food is Italian. I love Italian food. So if you know someone that knows a good Italian recipe, maybe you're a good Italian cook, or maybe you're Italian by nature yourself, let me know, because we need to talk, because I love Italian food and I could eat Italian food every day till I was 800 pounds. And then I have 2 cats, Buddy and Layla. Layla is the little gray cat sitting at the bottom of the chair there. She will be 15 in October. Buddy is the orange cat sitting on top of the chair. He will be 8 in January. And so both of those cats were strays that I think got dumped off by someone or sort of just pushed out of a car by someone when they were very young and they were kittens. And they sort of made their way to my front porch and my front door, and I adopted them, and we've been best buddies ever since. And I know some of you have cats or have that experience of having cats. You know that it's a great experience, and that having an opportunity to have pets and to have cats is really great. And if you've never had cats before, I can tell you you're missing out. So just keep that in mind. And something else to keep in mind is I'm a stutterer. So I do have some problems sometimes with stuttering. It's something that's bothered me all throughout my life, but I have learned to overcome that. And I have learned that one of the best things to help me overcome that has been speaking in front of people and having to talk to people on a day-to-day basis, because you don't have time to really think about it. You have to kind of put it in the back of your mind in order to overcome that. So if you have that experience or know of somebody that has, you know what that's like. But that is something that I struggle with and something that I just deal with, on a consistent basis. So just to give you a little bit of information about me, sort of how I got to Ole Miss, how I got into higher education and teaching and being a professor and working with students. It's been a lot of fun, and I can't imagine myself doing anything else. So more specifically, back to Writing 440 for a moment. Why is this class important? We're going to get into some of this as we move through the early modules in the semester. But I think you're going to find that by the time we get to the end of the semester, the ability to write and to write well is just as important as it is to what I put sort of quote unquote crunching the numbers. To have those skills is extremely important. To be able to pass the CPA exam, that's extremely important. But to be able to write well and to be able to communicate what you need to do in a professional setting through writing is something that is very, very important. And I can tell you that you will find this out if you haven't done any internships yet, or you're getting ready to start your internship this semester. you will find that accountants spend as much time writing as they do anything else. And so I hope that by the time we get to the end of the semester, one of my goals is by the time we get to the end of the semester, you'll see how and why writing is so important for the accounting profession. And you'll have a chance and an opportunity to practice some of the various writing assignments that are needed and will be necessary for the accounting profession. So we're also going to talk a little bit about research, how to find information and secondary source material as it relates to accounting and the accounting profession. Where do we go? How do we know if the information that we are using is good information? Excuse me. How do we know if the information that we are using is satisfying the needs of what it is that we're looking for and what it is that we're trying to put together from an accounting perspective? So we're going to talk about all of that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about audiences. How do you tailor information for different audiences? Writing a memo, for example, to your coworker or your supervisor is a very different audience than if you're sending a memo out to a client or a constituent base and you're trying to give them information or get them to engage with you in some way from an accounting perspective. So we're going to talk a little bit about audience and why that's important. So we're going to talk about audience. We're going to talk about active voice and how that is important and why that is important to kind of always write in the present and always talk about what we're dealing with in a writing situation from a present tense perspective. We're going to talk about how to write clear, concise, informative sentences. One of the things that we'll stress over and over again in our class this semester is that people who are writing as accountants, but people who are reading accounting-related documents want clear, concise sentences that are easy for them to get through, that are not filled with a lot of flowery language and jargon. They need the information. They need it presented as clearly and concisely as possible so that they can make a decision going forward. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about how to not alienate a potential reader with our words and our language. I mentioned the credible sources. We'll talk about documents and how to find a variety of different information related to issues concerning the accounting profession. And we'll also talk about organizing information. How do I take some ideas or concepts that I'm thinking about, and how do I organize that in a logical step for either someone who knows a lot about accounting or a client or a constituency base that doesn't know very much about accounting. You kind of organize information in two different ways depending on who your audience might be. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. We're going to get there through a variety of shorter and longer writing assignments. A lot of our shorter assignments will slowly build into the larger writing assignments. So there's a scaffolding effect that will take place, and kind of the larger writing assignment serves as the top frame of the scaffold. So we'll be slowly building up our knowledge and information base there. We'll be using the discussion boards in Blackboard quite a bit if you're familiar with that feature. That's how we'll interact and share ideas and concepts with each other. You'll have some opportunities to collaborate with classmates through some group assignments going forward as the semester progresses. And you're also going to have an opportunity to look at some case studies. We're going to look at some real life examples of accountants and accounting organizations and companies, both nonprofit and for-profit, who have done some things very well with writing and have also done some things very poorly with writing. And we're also going to talk about, and I didn't put it here, a little bit about ethics and why is ethics important? And as an accountant, why is it important for you to maintain a sense of ethics and demonstrate ethical behavior in both your interactions with people, but also with the writing and the documents and information that you produce to those variety of audience groups that I was talking about earlier. So how can you be successful in writing 440? Well, come to class, and I put class in parentheses because obviously we don't meet regularly. We don't meet twice a week or 3 times a week or once a week, but it's easy to fall behind, and when students have struggled in writing 440, it's been because they haven't come to class. They have not really engaged with the material. Our classes are set up in modules. Most of our modules are due each week on Friday, and all this information will be contained in the syllabus and kind of spelled out for you later. But where you can fall behind and where attendance, quote unquote, and not coming to class, quote unquote, becomes an issue is when you're not checking in those modules daily and weekly. And suddenly next thing you know, Friday's passed and you've missed a module. So you've missed a whole week's worth of content. All of the readings, assignments, video links, all of that will be contained within those modules for you to find. And so if you miss that information, not only have you behind on that particular week's work, but as we move into the module for the next week, you're going to really be behind because you haven't had that foundational beginning from the previous week's work. So just keep that in mind. Stay on top of it. Don't forget about the class just because you're not meeting face to face, or you're doing an internship somewhere else, or in another state working for another company, don't forget about the class. Be sure that you follow up and check in with it periodically. Maintain a positive attitude. Some of the things that we do are going to come very easy to you. Some of the things that we do are going to be a little bit more difficult. But don't get frustrated. Don't get stressed out when things aren't going well. Reach out to me. Please let me know if you're struggling. As I mentioned earlier, you have questions or concerns. We can certainly work through those issues together. But maintaining a positive attitude is going to go a long way into helping you be successful this semester. Talked about asking for help if you need it, and make sure that you do your best. Make sure that you put forth the best effort that you can. And you guys would not have reached this point in your career as college students if you weren't doing your best, if you weren't doing your best work. So I know that's not going to be a problem for many of you, but I wanted to just emphasize that. Do the very best that you possibly can, even if it's something that you're not quite sure you're doing it correctly, or maybe we've talked about it, or you've had some struggles with it, and we've talked and come up with some ways to make it better, and you're still not sure if this is exactly correct or perfect or whatever you think it needs to be. Do your best. Give it your best effort. Learning is a process. Writing is a process. Some things will come easily. Some things will not come so easily. But everything is a process, and you can't really leap or step over steps in the process without having some confusion and struggle. So just keep those tips in mind as we think about the class going forward. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for now, and that's going to be all I have to say really about the class this semester and kind of where we're headed and what our goals are this semester. But I did want to introduce myself again, welcome you to Writing 440. I'm glad to have you in class this semester, really excited to work with you. And I hope that by the time we get to the end of the class, I want you to be just as good of a writer and just as good of a reader and just as good of a critical thinker as you are someone who can demonstrate the basic accounting skills needed to be successful. So welcome to Writing 440. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns going forward. I sent out an email to you all earlier that had some information about the class and where and when to access the first module that is due on Friday. So make sure that if you haven't read that email yet, it came to your My Ole Miss email. Make sure you take a look at that and follow those steps so that you'll know where to go as we begin the class. So great to have you in class. Looking forward to working with you. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I will talk to you again soon.